In today's video, we are going to compare the two Gojira drum libraries created by Mixwave. This video is sponsored by Mixwave, who gracefully sent me a free version of the Mixwave 2 Mario Duplantier drum library so that I can compare it to the first version. We are going to hear how this library sounds in both a death metal and prog metal context. Let's go! Okay, so now I am back again in Reaper and we are going to listen one of the demo songs I did. So this one I wrote specifically for the Gojira 1 kit, which means the mix has been structured around Gojira 1 in the first place, and then I did try Gojira 2 in the same instance. So obviously we might expect Gojira 1 to sound a bit better in this context, but the goal is not to guess which library sounds better, it's rather to hear the slight differences between the libraries and what could be useful in one scenario or the other. So this is Gojira 1 in the first demo song I called Born for Nothing. Let's go. Okay, so that was Gojira 1 in the first context, Born for Nothing, the most aggressive song. Now let's go with Gojira 2, let's try. Okay, it sounded really nice. Once again, in this situation, the Mixwave Gojira 1 might be a better fit as I structured my mix around, and also maybe I should have done a few things differently. Like, I think the snare in the Gojira 2 drum kit, in the way I mixed it, is a bit too compressed for this specific use case. However, let's follow on with the drum and bass parts. So this is Gojira 1 in the first song context. Let's try. Really nice. I really like how heavy are the kick and snare in this library, and I also really like the attack and sustain of the bell ride. I think it really works well in this specific scenario, which is kind of, yeah, proggy, kind of death metal kind of vibe, which is basically what Gojira is known for, so makes a lot of sense. Let's try the drum and bass section only for Gojira 2. Really nice. Once again, I think I might have gone a bit too far with the compression in this specific scenario in the way I mixed the drum kit. But I really like the presence in the overhead in the room. I think the kit is breathing a bit more. I would say maybe Gojira 1 has a drier kind of sound, like it's more in your face, and Gojira 2 breathes more, like it has more room, you hear more of the vibe and the ambience around the drum kit, which is probably also a bit more realistic, but also a bit less suited to scenarios where you want a really aggressive drum kit. So let's now just hear the drums only. Once again, we will start with Gojira 1 and then follow up with Gojira 2. Okay, now let's try Gojira 2, drums only. Okay, so here you can really hear that there is definitely more sustain in the Gojira 2 kit. Like it sounds really huge. It's a bit less in your face. It has that really kind of big room vibe, like big drum kit arena kind of thing going on, the way I mixed it. So let's move on with the next song to see if Gojira 2 works in other scenarios too. Okay, so now let's listen to the second song. For this specific song, I did go for something a bit more progressive, which means a less aggressive kind of track with more like ambient vibe, lower tunings, strange time signatures. So we are going to do the same process. We will listen to the song first with Gojira 1, then with Gojira 2 in a mixed context, and after that we will listen to the drum and bass tracks, and then we will end with the drum tracks only to compare Gojira 1 and Gojira 2 in this specific, let's say, progressive metal context. Let's start with Gojira 1. Okay, that was really nice. Let's try Gojira 2 in the same context. Okay, so in this specific context, I think Gojira 2 works a bit better, even though Gojira 1 is a nice fit, but Gojira 2 really brings this kind of roomy vibe, like the drum really leaves. I don't know, it sounds a bit more massive, a bit more realistic, and I think for this specific kind of scenario, it works really well, and I also really like how tasty the snare crack is. So let's follow on and listen to Gojira 1 only with the bass, so drums and bass isolated. Let's go. really nice. Let's try out Gojira 2 with the bass only, so drums and bass isolated. Again, let's go. Okay, so now that we listened to the isolated tracks, I would like to compare Gojira 1 and Gojira 2 in a drum-only context. So let's go first with Gojira 1. Okay, let's now listen to Gojira 2 in the same context. Alright, so I think in this specific context, I prefer, by a really slight margin, Gojira 2. That's just a personal preference, and I think both options, honestly, could work great. I wanted to just give you a few insights about the velocities I used. So for the first demo, the most aggressive song, I use quite hard velocities, like quite hard hits. Cymbal hits are somewhere between 100 and 120. The snare hits are somewhere between 100 and 127, and the kick is always somewhere around 110. So those are really, really hard hits, because I think it works better in this scenario, and this is the kind of really, really in-your-face drum parts. It just matches the vibe a bit better. So as a reminder, this is how it sounds. So yeah, it's kind of a savage kind of track, and I think as a drummer, even if I'm not, I would really like to hit hard on those sections to deliver the energy that the song needs. In the other song, in the other scenario instead, we are using really lighter hits, like first half of the track, which is really mellow and smooth. The kick hits are somewhere between 20 and 60, the snare hits are between 60 and 80, cymbals are always between 50 and 80, and when the song gets a bit heavier, like when the heavy guitars are entering in, then I'm using heavier drum hits and specifically kick hits as well as cymbal hits. Like the snare is not getting that much heavier, but the cymbal and the kicks are having, let's say, more defined accents on specific parts, like this one, like the Prog groove here. Like every time the bass hits, there is a heavier kick hit at the same time. And for the first half of the track, as I said, we're more having this kind of laid down vibe, and everything, I think like all the groove is in the way the ride is played. So if you're interested, I will leave you the drum maps as well as the Reaper MIDI notes in the description if you want to get a bit more inside it. And also if you go on my Patreon, you will be able to find the stems and the project tracks, so you can like play around with it, try to remix it, or use the same like drum patterns to create something of your own. So yeah, it's always interesting to reverse engineer tones, so I thought it might interest some of you, so feel free to support me and to go on my Patreon. So with that being said, I also would like to get a bit more in depth with specifics of each kit. So the first thing I noticed between Gojira 1 and Gojira 2 is that they are not really using the same velocity layers. I think the default hits in Gojira 1 are harder than in Gojira 2, and for this reason I tweaked a bit the velocity curves in the settings, so you need to go there to adjust what you want to adjust. So I think this is not the best example. I think it was more in the previous song, like the more aggressive song. I had to do that to not have two different MIDI tracks, you know, because I thought the comparison would not make sense if the MIDI tracks were not the same. So now let's dive a bit deeper inside the kit elements. Alright, so let's start with the kick and snare. So this is the default kick. Yeah, we don't have any other options, and we have this snare. This is the brass. No, this was the wood snare. Okay. We have the SLP snare. This one is really hard. And we have the brass snare, which I think should be lower. Yes, kind of. So for this specific song, I use the wood snare. We have two timbales I did not use. This is a babar thing. Alright, this is the China 16-inch 18-inch hi-hat, left crash, splash cymbal, Crash 2, Ride, Plates, and China 2, which I did not use in this song. Yeah. And we have 3 bobbing atoms with no specific tuning options. Okay, so let's have an overview of the whole kit again. Nice. Let's move on to Gojira 2. So we have 1 kick option, 3 snare options, the bell brass, which is the one I used, the 15th anniversary, and the black brass snare. We have 3 toms with a low tuning option also. Let's see the difference. Yeah. Alright. We have 120-inch China, 122-inch China. We have 15-inch hi-hat, 14-inch hi-hat, 18-inch crash, left crash, 18-inch A custom crash. The first one was a K custom. 19-inch K custom crash, 19-inch A custom crash, 20-inch K suite crash, the splash, left 19-inch China. My god, the 27-inch China. I think this sounds a bit like the Babar in the first kit, so I think this is the reason why we've got this 27-inch China. It's a really specific China that you don't want to use in every scenario, I think. So let's go back to the 19-inch. We've got the 21 wide bell, which is the same as Gojira 1, and the stack. So let's have an overview of the whole kit again. Alright, one last thing I am curious about. I would really like to see if there is any difference between the two 21-inch Megabell rides. So this is Gojira 1. This is Gojira 2. So maybe the default hit is not the same. So let's compare let's compare the main hits maybe. So this is 21-inch ride bow. "21-inch ride bow" in Gojira 2. Looks like the tuning is a bit different. This is really strange. The 21-inch ride bell tip in Gojira 1. Gojira 2. Bell edge, Gojira 1. Gojira 2. Crash, Gojira 1. Gojira 2. Yeah, and the manual choke we don't use. So maybe there is something going on in my mixer. No. Oh, really interesting. The two rides should be the same, but they are not. Looks like they are not in the same tuning. So, yeah, if someone from Mixwave see this video, feel free to tell me why the two 21-inch Megabell rides are not tuned in the same tuning between two libraries. I think it works great. I would assume that the Gojira 2 ride has been tuned specifically to match the kit a bit better. Or maybe to provide a different flavor from Gojira 1, because else people would say, oh, you guys are reusing the same samples from one library to the second library and you are charging the same amount, so it does not make sense. Probably one of the two reasons, or maybe both. So yeah. So we are reaching the end of this video, and I hope it gave you some valuable information and it helped you make a choice to find which Gojira Mixwave drum kit is right for your specific needs. I would like to thank Mixwave for sponsoring this video and sending me over for free the Gojira 2 library. If you want to support me, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share this video, and also check my socials in the video description. See you next time!